Nate.
Hey everyone, Nathan Nerdarch here from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. Today I'm going to be talking about alternate initiative methods for Dungeons & Dragons, specifically with 5e in mind. And with me I have...
I'm Dave.
And I'm Ted.
Before we get into all that, I want you to go below into the description and find a newsletter link. Click that link, go to that page, put your name and email address in, and join the newsletter already. We got cool things going on there. It's the best way for us to stay in touch with you guys and let you know what's going on.
And it's a way for you guys to be able to learn how to game with us.
That's it. And, we like to give cool RPG tips that we don't give anywhere else.
So was kind of inspired by thinking about the narrative dice system and also...
What narrative dice system?
From Star Wars.
From Star Wars.
Oh, that narrative dice system.
And I was thinking about, how that all played out, and then I was considering how sometimes initiative in D&D kind of makes me angry because I wouldn't do the things that I plan to do if I knew about the other stuff that's happening in the round. So I was thinking about, rather than a round that's very turn-based, everybody gets their little spot, they do their action, and they're done. Instead, the DM controls the initiative in the sense that he has how the initiative is going to play out.
You know how I kind of look at that, though? I mean, not to get too far off topic, in the sense that, like, okay, you're like, oh, I wouldn't have done that because of X. But the truth of the matter is, if you've ever been in any kind of chaotic situation or melee, like, you don't always have time to take everything in. So I just kind of chalk that stuff up to the fog of war.
Well,
yeah, and that can go in, but really, when it comes down to it, if you're looking in on a situation and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this, well, you're acting within those 6 seconds of a round, basically, and everybody's acting. They're not just standing still waiting for you to do your action and then everyone else is moving. You can kind of gauge what's going on with what's happening. So if you're going first, you should have some kind of advantage besides being able to shoot a guy in the face with your crossbow first. I mean, what kind of advantage is that if they all charge you? While if they're all charging you, you can say, I get to go first. Perhaps I will run away instead of shooting and then getting charged and swamped to death. So what I was going to say was, with the initiative system I was thinking about was everybody does their, basically what they want to do that round. They say what they want to do that round. I figure out what the enemies are doing, and then I say what happens throughout the initiative. And with kind of like, if people, maybe with like some interjection by the people, or I say,
well,
like,
listen here, youngster. Back in the day, that's actually exactly how we used to do initiative. You had to declare your actions before initiative was rolled, and then you're basically kind of like beholden to those actions.
Yeah, so I wanted to go with a little more storytelling element instead of weird things happening, like I shoot the dead guy. When you could have just said, well, instead of shooting that guy, I'm going to go like this and shoot the other guy that's right next to him. That still is killing my friend. So that's things that I could see easily happening within the initiative round. So rather than a round being segmented into everybody's initiative, the rounds are the segmentation of what's going on, and everybody gets to act during it. But what happens is based on what the DM says is happening, based on, he might call for a roll or call for this or that. But in the end, it's like, I feel like it's more dynamic than just a split-up system. And another thing is, I was actually... Lindy Beige is a YouTuber that prompted me to do this. He talks about swords and stuff like that. He's a pretty cool channel. He was like, well, it doesn't make sense to me that if I'm the wizard, I'm going first. I thunderwave guys, and then they stand up and attack me because their initiative is later. Because they can do that, because I didn't thunderwave them far enough away. But it's kind of like... I feel, you go first, you change your action based on what other people are doing. So if guys are charging me, I might decide
to leave.
Traditionally
now, like, initiative is basically everyone goes on their turn. It's not, you're not set in your actions, so you can change it. Like, that example of the wizard thunder waving the enemy is they thunder waves them, but it, maybe it doesn't knock them far enough away, but he still had his move to move back, to drop back,
But he still has to use that move.
If he's got to position
He's
himself.
still got to use that move before he actually knows what everyone else is doing. Even though he went his initiative, he's got the most initiative.
Right.
In a sense. He actually gets pigeonholed into a decision not knowing anything else that's going on in the battle.
Well, I've had times where literally going first has caused issues because of what happens later, and I've had times where it's totally saved the situation. I know in previous editions of the game, I would literally run a system where it was more time intensive to run a combat, where everybody rolls their initiative, and then starting with the lowest number, you declare what it is you're doing. So everyone who goes after you is reacting faster than you to what's there, but it's literally every single round you need to stop the action of the combat and go into a descriptive mode, and it definitely takes away from the actual it adds more time to combat. And sometimes people feel that it makes the combat more real, because the people who act faster have the ability to be able to make the most decisions in combat, because they know what everyone else is doing before they act. And
but here's the thing, right? You round a corner, there are 6 orcs, you're a party of 6, right? The rogue is just the quickest and reacts the fastest, right? He wouldn't actually know what anyone else is going to do because they haven't done it yet. He moved faster than everybody else. So while they're thinking about moving, he's already doing.
But that's not what's really happening. Not everyone. No one's like, okay, you roll initiative. Everyone's freeze framed except for you. Everybody's doing something.
They're in action.
Yeah. So you can kind of tell, like, well, those orcs are charging me, or they're whipping out their short bows, or they're whipping out their hand axes, and they look like they're going to throw it.
Yeah, that's just part of the scripter. You round the corner, there are 6 orcs. They see you. They start going for their crossbows, or they have spears in their hands. So like, yeah, that part would be, but like what exactly they're going to do if you're moving faster than them is really hard to say. Like, I mean, Ted, you've done martial training, you've done Arma. Have you ever fought more than one opponent?
Yes.
Have them rush you at the same time?
Yeah, you die.
How much time do you have to think about it?
It's not.
Even if you move faster than one of the guys, how much time do you have to take into account everything that's going on?
You really don't. I typically the only way you survive that is to literally cut off an opponent. So as they're coming this way, I would go that way to have one guy in between.
And that would be by you running initiative and moving before them, and and then they have to change their movements according to you. But
I wasn't saying that my system was perfect. I was just saying that's what I've done in the past to make it seem,
I'm just giving my interpretation.
Yeah,
and that's all. But enough of that. Let's actually hear what is it you want to do with the initiative? What is your idea?
No, I just wanted to give it a try. Is having the initiative system basically be blind for the players. They say what they want to do, and then I say story-wise what happens in that round, and then some more kind of like a narrative system, but still you use all the other mechanics for the Dungeons and Dragons game. It's just simply that the combat changes a bit based on those kind of things. So that was it. So I kind of wanted to have a discussion on initiative in general, because like you said, and back in the day they did it differently than the way we do it right now. There's also multiple. I mean, there's several alternate systems talked about in the actual 5th edition book as well, as options.
In some ways there's an advantage to going last. Like, you actually get to take in the battlefield and see what's going on. Where someone who just reacts first, they're reacting to the situation as it is now, just like you're going to react to the situation as now. But you got to watch everything unfold, for better or worse. It's not always a great thing, because now those 6 orcs have decided to surround you, this low guy. Right. so I've despite the advantages of the descriptive combat or the reactive combat, to me, combat isn't what the game's about.
It's heavily in there. It's all over the place.
I know it's in there, and there's a lot of people that feel that it's absolutely required, and I'm not going to dispute that. It's just, to me, it's a part of the game, but it's not the most important part. So therefore, I'm not going to do anything that's going to lengthen the time of combat just for this little added bit, because a lot of people want to get back to the actual story of what's going on, or kill them and get the loot, whatever it is that they want.
Whatever their goal is.
Right.
Well, I think combat can be just as interesting as out of combat if you do it, if you're not just rolling dice.
That's true.
So
That's true.
this is me moving more towards just not, your initiative dice determining, like, this is the thing. It's like goes from an interactive role playing game, like an immersive role playing game, to a like mini game of combat. And I just was saying, well, like I feel like a flowing story initiative, like a story combat, would work better, but you'd still be able to use all of the statistics and everything from the game,
Right.
And all the things that add pluses to initiative still are good because of what they do, and they let you act sooner or let you take in more of the area around you and what's going on. But I'm just saying I want to give it a try. I'm not saying it's it's improvement on a destroyed broken system.
No.
So what are the like you were saying? You mentioned one, and Dave mentioned how it was to start. So that's kind of like a good. I mean, I'm interested in seeing what else everybody else wants to say about initiative. I'm sure they've got their opinions.
well, there's that too, and like I ran a session. The whole session was really just combat, but like you add if you add in descriptions, on both sides of the table, both sides of the screen, and you interject role playing throughout the combat. You're right. It doesn't have to just be combat, and it's easy. It's easy to fall in that player trap and DM trap of just rolling dice until one side or the other side is dead. There's no reason why the combats can't be more RP heavy and immersive. And you as a GM, you may take some liberties and describe what happens, or you may allow the players to do the same thing. Or maybe you cue them. When they get their kill, we'll describe it, or or whatever. Or we've talked about before, like a player character might have a signature move they use in combat, and maybe they always describe that when they roll a crit, or or maybe they have the same thing for a fumble when they roll a 1. But there are definitely ways where you can spruce up combat and look at it a different way. So really, to me, it sounds like you're not really talking about initiative. You're just talking about
combat itself.
Yeah, the combat itself, making it more creative. And less,
and you can do that with description.
Less linear.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I figured the initiative sets up the whole linear thing of the combat. So it's like kind of like heading it off at the pass.
And well, here's one of the problems too. When there's multiple monsters, technically you should like roll initiative for each one.
Oh yeah.
Then that would definitely add to the ebb and flow of the combat. But it's just a pain in the ass.
It is.
For expediency as the DM and keeping track of everything. And, there's aids you could use to make it better. Like I brought up during the last session. I'm like, I should probably do that. I'm just lazy. That would make it easier because I always forget who goes when and, at what initiative we're at.
My nephew did something really cool. He was setting up, he has cards with everybody's name on it and then the monsters. And he has everyone roll initiative and then he just stacks the deck of cards. And then he turns it towards you, and he flips, and he has his cards on the front and the back.
You could take index cards like that, right? Fold them in half, and write it on both sides, and just hang them on your DM screen too, in the order of combat.
Yeah, and then he just takes the one off and sticks it on the bottom. So it worked better for index cards because he didn't have a screen. So he would just flip like.
Oh yeah, well you could.
Like cue cards, basically.
But you could even stand them in front of you too. So. And like maybe you just slide the one forward that when it's their turn or something.
Yeah, so it was that's also a good.
So then you can, but then like I think by laying what he did is good, especially for a new player. But if you put them out in front of you, in that format, you can see throughout the combat.
But the neat thing he did was with that he wrote all the stuff he needed for his villains on the back of the cards. Okay. So he actually it was like a cheat sheet kind of thing for what was going on. So he had a way of, they would know when it's the opposition's turn. He had all the information.
I probably still have index card boxes, full of monster stats written out from
second and
third edition.
Yeah, because he did a little bit of work and he didn't feel like having to flip through the books the whole time because he's newer, so it was just easier for him to just have it.
Now I'm opening the monster manual to a page with a stick-it on it, a post-it stuck to it.
Yeah. Change these things and describe it this way. Done.
So how do you guys feel about combat, initiative in combat, the order, the flow of things? Do you think it really breaks the immersion or the realism of it? Or maybe you go for a total simulation as a game and it doesn't feel real enough. Do you do something different with initiative and your descriptions of combat in general? Or do you guys kind of just play it like a mini war game And you just roll dice until one side is murdered and the other is not, or we want to know about it. Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out some funny memes over on Facebook.
You can read the articles over at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay
stay
nerdy.
nerdy.